You're watching DD India NewsHour, India's voice to the world. I'm Abhishek Mahajan. Coming up in the next hour. Prime Minister Modi congratulates Israeli PM Benjamin Netanyahu on Gaza peace deal, reaffirms that terrorism in any form is unacceptable. Israel approves peace deal, clearing the way to suspend hostilities in Gaza within 24 hours and free hostages within 72 hours. US judge temporarily blocks Trump's deployment of National Guard troops in Chicago and other states as part of his sweeping crime and immigration crackdown. Rajnath Singh highlights growing India-Australia strategic partnership at Defence Industry Roundtable in Sydney, says two sides trying to become co-creators of secure and prosperous Indo-Pacific. And after months of intense fighting and failed negotiations, a major breakthrough was achieved in the Gaza conflict. Israel and Hamas have signed a ceasefire agreement, a deal that could mark the first real step towards lasting peace in the region. More in this report.
Celebrations erupted on both sides as Israel and Hamas reached a landmark agreement to end hostilities in Gaza. The deal calls for a ceasefire, which is a partial Israeli military withdrawal, and the release of hostages by Hamas in exchange for Palestinian prisoners held by Israel. The agreement follows indirect talks in Egypt's Sharm el-Sheikh and forms part of US President Donald Trump's initiative to end the conflict.
I'm very excited about this, and all of us in the camp are waiting for the response. It is supposed to happen today, God willing. We are racing against time so the agreement can be signed, and we are eagerly waiting for 4 p.m. to hear them say, "You can return to your homes."
There are no words to describe the feeling today. It's undescribable, like spontaneous joy, excitement, tears. We all came here from the office because we are just unable to work. It's a day that the entire nation has been waiting for 2 years. Every second, every day has just come to this moment.
The ceasefire, which will take effect once ratified by the Israeli government after a security cabinet meeting. High-profile prisoner Marwan Barghouti will, however, not be included in the exchange.
Now, the final draft of Phase 1 was signed this morning in Egypt by all parties to release all of the hostages. And the IDF will then redeploy to that yellow line we mentioned, which will lead to the military controlling and holding about 53% of the Gaza Strip. Now, Phase 1 stands very clear. All of our hostages, the living and deceased, will be released 72 hours later, which will bring us to Monday. Has Israel agreed or refused to release Palestinian prisoner Marwan Barghouti? I can tell you at this point in time that he will not be part of this release.
Following the signing, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu held an emotional phone call with President Trump, who is expected to visit Jerusalem on Sunday. Netanyahu expressed gratitude for Trump's global leadership in facilitating the deal.
In a phone call earlier this morning, Prime Minister Netanyahu thanked President Trump for his global leadership efforts to make this all possible. It was a very emotional and a warm conversation as both leaders congratulated each other on this historic achievement.
World leaders also welcomed the agreement, hailing it as a crucial step toward peace and the safe release of hostages in Gaza.
I welcome the announcement last night of an agreement to secure a ceasefire and hostage release in Gaza, based on the proposal put forward by President Donald J. Trump. And I commend the diplomatic efforts of the United States, Qatar, Egypt, and Turkey in brokering the desperately needed breakthrough. We have all waited far too long for this moment. Now we must make it truly count. I urge all parties to fully abide by the terms of the agreement and to fully embrace the opportunities it presents.
The world is watching closely as the ceasefire moves towards implementation. If it holds, it could bring long-awaited relief to millions affected by the conflict and possibly set the stage for broader peace talks in West Asia. Bureau Report, DD India.
And Israel's government has approved the Gaza ceasefire and hostage release plan. Earlier, Israel and Hamas agreed to the first phase of its peace plan to pause fighting and release at least some hostages and prisoners. Hamas will exchange 20 living hostages for 2,000 Palestinian prisoners as part of the first phase of a deal to end the conflict in Gaza. The exchange will take place within 72 hours of the implementation of the agreement. And following the announcement, Prime Minister Modi spoke to US President Donald Trump and congratulated him on the success of the historic Gaza peace plan. PM Modi wrote on X, and I quote him here: "Spoke to my friend President Trump and congratulated him on the success of the historic Gaza peace plan. Also reviewed the good progress achieved in trade negotiations. Agreed to stay in close touch over the coming weeks." Unquote. PM Modi also called Israeli counterpart Benjamin Netanyahu to congratulate him. He said, and I quote him here, "We welcome the agreement on the release of hostages and enhanced humanitarian assistance to the people of Gaza, reaffirmed that terrorism in any form or manifestation is unacceptable anywhere in the world." Unquote. All right, Jessica Taneja joins us for more. Hi, Jessica. Tell us, how significant is this moment, given how long these talks have dragged on?
Well, this is not the first time, we've seen a ceasefire plan being floated, that too, which is brokered by the US. But this one seems pretty much on the lines of implementation, where we're now getting reports that around 200 military personnel from the United States, Turkey, Egypt, Qatar, collectively will be monitoring the developments there when the hostage release and the Palestinian prison exchange happens. So this is, of course, quite an important moment, not just for the US president, but also for the people of Gaza, where you see almost 25 or 27 lives on an average daily are still being lost. So a big humanitarian cost that was attached to the Israeli operation in Gaza. Of course, now there are a lot of contentions that still remain. The implementation in the previous times has been faulty, with the American president once even suggesting that he would think of a possible plan of displacing all the people of Palestine and perhaps making Middle East Riviera there, and all kinds of solutions have been found. Even when it comes to Gaza's post-war construction effort, all of that is going to take a really long time. But this ceasefire, at least at the outset, looks like a solid deal to ensure that at least the hostages in the prisoner exchange begins, because for so long, Hamas hadn't released the 20 hostages that were alive. There were reported to be 48 of them. The others are believed to have been deceased. So their remains should be returned as well. But how many, at what time, and what kind of logistical issues will be encountered in this, especially when it comes to the mobility in such areas? If you've seen the reports, Hamas is right now requesting that they need end of bombing or any kind of fire or shelling, so they can sort of move around and bring those hostages back for the exchange, in exchange for the Palestinian prisoners who have been held in Israel.
Jessica, also you said contentious still remain. What do you think are the biggest challenges in making sure this deal actually holds on the ground?
Well, for the Israeli side, it wants the complete disarmament of Hamas, and Hamas wants a complete military withdrawal from Gaza Strip. So this is particularly important in the long term, at least, for ensuring peace in the region, not just in Gaza, but also in the Middle East. You see the countries that are involved in the mediation are stressing with the fact that there needs to be long-lasting peace without, of course, depriving the Palestinians, especially the 2 million people who have been starving since no aid has been able to go through. And this particular plan, at least in the first phase, would ensure aid being sent. Now, if that is allowed, and that would require the Israeli Defense Forces to stop firing and stop shelling, and also from the side of Hamas, which will have to cease all kind of operations and also political activity. There were reports also suggesting the Palestinian Authority that has been based in the West Bank to sort of have some role, but from the plan that we've understood, it is going to be a technocratic administration that will be overseen by the United States and, of course, Tony Blair, who was helping in building this entire ceasefire plan. But the contentions still remain. Are we going to reach a point where the people actually get a statehood, which is what is the demand of not just Gaza, but also the 8 other Muslim nations and Arab nations that have joined in for this mediation that includes the likes of Turkey, Egypt, Qatar. And they're very adamant on the fact that there has to be a two-state solution in a sense where Palestinian statehood is granted, but Israel, with its conservative right-wing government, would certainly not allow for that. We've barely seen the ratification of the implementation of this deal that has been agreed upon. But further than that, it's a wait and watch game for all of us, Abhishek.
All right, Jessica, we'll leave it at that. Thank you for your inputs. Moving on, in view of the emerging tension between US and Venezuela, the United Nations Security Council to hold an emergency session on the US military actions in recent weeks in the waters of the South American country. The request came a day after members of Congress voted down legislation that would have put a check on Trump's ability to use a deadly military force against drug traffickers. So far, the US military has carried 4 deadly strikes in the Caribbean since it increased its maritime forces for what Trump has declared an armed conflict with drug cartels. However, Nicolas Maduro's government maintains that the White House is using drug trafficking only as an excuse for the operation. A US judge temporarily halts Trump's deployment of hundreds of National Guard troops in Chicago and other states 5 days after another US judge blocked a similar deployment in Portland, Oregon. Trump's administration has argued the troops are necessary to protect immigration agents and facilities in America's 3rd largest city, falsely depicting it as a war zone. But local Democratic officials have said police and other law enforcement are perfectly sufficient, while arguing that Trump is purposefully provoking protests with its heavy-handed operations. Putting an obligation on the move, the district judge April Perry said that permitting Guard troops in the state would only add fuel to the fire after hearing more than 2 hours of arguments from lawyers for the US government and the states of Illinois, which sued Trump administration over the deployment.
Judge Perry did a very careful job of weighing the evidence, weighing the credibility of the evidence and those declarations that served as the testimony to be considered as to whether or not the President of the United States could and should federalize and deploy the National Guard into our great city and our great state. And I think after doing so, she made the correct decision to enter a temporary restraining order.
As the US government shutdown still continues and so its impacts US Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy warned on Thursday that the government could dismiss air traffic controllers who repeatedly failed to show up for work. The Federal Aviation Administration said that it was seeing a variety of staffing issues for a 4th straight day. There have been nearly 21,000 flight delays since Monday, with thousands tied to the FAA slowing flights because of air traffic controller absences. During that 35-day shutdown, the number of absences by controllers and officers rose as workers missed paychecks, extending checkpoint wait times at some airports. Authorities were forced to slow air traffic in New York, which put pressure on lawmakers to quickly end the standoff. Now, the UN's nuclear watchdog has started the process to restore external power to the Russian-held Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant in southeastern Ukraine, cut off from the electricity grid for more than 2 weeks. IAEA Chief Rafael Grossi said the process had begun after consultation with authorities in Ukraine and Russia, who blame each other for the downing of the external lines. Since the last external link went down on September 23rd, the plant has relied on emergency diesel generators to ensure that fuel inside the reactors is cooled and no meltdown occurs. Russian forces seized the plant, Europe's largest, with 6 reactors in the first weeks of the Kremlin's February 2022 invasion of Ukraine. The plant produces no electricity, but each side regularly accuses the other of military actions compromising nuclear safety. All right, still to come on this edition of DD India News Hour. US denies reports of supplying new advanced medium-range air-to-air missiles to Pakistan. In Peru, Congress push to impeach President passes first hurdle. And global buzz builds ahead of Nobel Peace Prize announcement. Details after the break.
So now you can't talk about British imperialism in India without talking about the East India Company.
Britain is just dotted with the visible representations of loot from India. The one thing you folks have never done is just say sorry.
Are you ready to roll?
I am ready to roll.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Abhishek Mahajan. The US on Friday denied any delivery of the advanced medium-range air-to-air missiles to Pakistan, contrary to what was reported by multiple media outlets on Tuesday. In a statement, the US Embassy in India said the new contract with Pakistan is meant for certain sustainment items and does not include any new deliveries of the said missiles, debunking media reports as false. The statement reads, on September 30th, 2025, the Department of War released a list of standard contract announcements which refer to an amendment to an existing foreign military sales contract for sustainment and spares for several countries, including Pakistan. The administration would like to emphasize that, contrary to false media reports, no part of this reference contract modification is for deliveries of new advanced medium-range air-to-air missiles to Pakistan. And the US Embassy's statement appears to directly counter these claims, stressing that the contract is purely intended to support existing systems rather than enhance them. The clarification underscores Washington's awareness of perceptions that it could be influencing regional military balances. All right, DD India's Amrit Pal is joining us on the phone line for more on this. Hi Amrit, the US has firmly denied reports of delivering these missiles to Pakistan. What more can you tell us on this, and what has prompted the US to issue a denial?
Well, there were media reports, Abhishek, that the United States is going to give more, advanced medium air missiles to Pakistan. So the Department of War, basically, which is their Department of Defense, which has been rechristened as the Department of War, has issued a clarification saying that there are no new said missiles that will be delivered to Pakistan. The amended contract with Pakistan on military supplies only includes spare parts of the existing supplies that are given by the U.S. military to Pakistan. And it does not include any new advanced medium air-to-air missiles or the Aram missiles to Pakistan. So this is a clarification because, there were concerns both, within the United States and India about the U.S. giving more, new missiles to Pakistan. The fact remains that the U.S. military in the past has supplied Aram missiles to Pakistan, but this amended contract is only for spare parts of existing military hardware that has been given to Pakistan, so there is no new delivery. So the U.S. Department of War has clarified this position.
All right.
Abhishek?
All right, Amritpal, we'll leave that out. Thank you for getting us the latest on that story. Moving on, the U.S. imposed sanctions on about 100 individuals, entities and vessels, including a Chinese independent refinery and terminal that helped Iran's oil and petrochemicals trade. The United States believes Iran's oil networks helped Iran fund its nuclear and missile programs and support militant proxies throughout the Middle East. Iran says its nuclear program is for peaceful purposes. U.S. Treasury said it was the fourth round of sanctions in which the administration targeted China-based refineries that continue to purchase Iranian oil. Despite U.S. sanctions, Iran continues to export large volumes of oil. Shifting focus now, Peru's Congress voted in favor of debating the impeachment of President Dina Boluarte. In a late-night session called hours after political blocs from across the spectrum called for her removal. Boluarte is deeply disliked, with approval ratings between 2% and 4% following accusations she has illicitly profited from her office and is responsible for lethal crackdowns on protests in favor of her predecessor. The move comes as the South American nation prepares for elections next April. If lawmakers continue to vote to remove Boluarte, the leader of the conservative-dominated unicameral Congress could become Peru's interim president until elections in April 2026. In Peru, protesters in Juliaca in southern Puno region threw eggs, stones and other objects at presidential pre-candidate Philip Butters. Relatives of people killed in the 2022-23 unrest joined the protest and denounced past remarks by Butters during 2022 protests in which he urged the police to use lethal force, and their crowds demanded a public apology. 50 people were killed and 100 seriously injured by police and military during protests in Peru between December 2022 and February 2023. The relatives are demanding truth, justice and reparations, as well as respect for right to protest without stigmatization. The next general elections in Peru are scheduled for April 12, 2026, with a potential presidential runoff set for June 7, 2026. Moving on, the government of Nepal has declared Elam district in Koshi province a disaster crisis zone after deadly floods and landslides. The decision was made during a cabinet meeting at Singh Darbar on Thursday. Severe floods and landslides in Elam have claimed 39 lives, left 29 injured and 1 reported missing. The disaster caused heavy damage to the district's road network and infrastructure. During the meeting, the cabinet also approved Nepal Electricity Authority's proposal to issue Rs 20 billion in energy bonds to boost hydropower projects, aiming to enhance energy security and reduce dependence on imports. Moving further, Sri Lankan Prime Minister Dr. Harini Amarasuriya announced in Parliament about the establishment of the National Women's Commission. Prime Minister Dr. Harini informed the Parliament the newest addition to the island's independent commissions is the National Women's Commission. He stated that the members were appointed to the body 2 to 3 weeks ago and its establishment has now been completed. This addition brings the total number of independent commissions under the government to 10. Pledging to continue to find ways to work together to maintain the international rules-based order at a time of growing tensions, New Zealand and Singapore on Friday signed a comprehensive strategic partnership. The two countries concluded an agreement on trade in essential supplies, formalizing an arrangement that began during COVID-19 pandemic when air freight continued between the two countries despite few passengers on flights. The two countries have maintained political ties for 60 years and in 2019 signed an enhanced partnership agreement that covered trade and economics, defense and security and supply chains. US President Donald Trump and Finnish President Alexander Stubb signed an agreement on Thursday for the US Coast Guard to acquire up to 11 icebreaker ships to strengthen Arctic security. The agreement establishes cooperation between the US Coast Guard and Finnish shipyards for Arctic security cutters. Finland will build 4 ships and the US will construct up to 7 more using Finnish expertise. The medium icebreakers will enhance US operations in the Arctic and lay the foundation for commercial collaboration between the two countries. The deal is valued at approximately $6.1 billion. The ships are intended for strategic Arctic use amid growing international focus on the region. An earthquake of magnitude 7.5 struck southern Philippines region on Friday. The quake was at a depth of 62 kilometers. Although the tsunami threat from Philippines earthquakes has now passed, but with tsunami warnings issued in several countries, people are advised in coastal towns and nearby regions to evacuate to higher ground. Local authorities in the Philippines and neighboring nations have urged residents to remain alert and stay away from shorelines until further notice. Now, Veracruz Governor Nale conducts an aerial inspection of severe flooding across parts of the eastern Mexican state. The images reveal widespread inundation following days of heavy rainfall, which have displaced residents, submerged farmland and disrupted local infrastructure. Veracruz Governor flew over multiple affected regions to assess the damage and coordinate emergency response efforts. State authorities are working with federal agencies to deliver aid and evacuate high-risk areas. Now, gang members clashed with police on Thursday near the Haitian government headquarters as ministers running a weak interim administration met for the first time in months. Poverty-stricken Haiti has no sitting Congress or president and has not held an election since 2016. While armed gangs control much of the country despite the deployment of an international force led by Kenya, Haiti has a long history of political instability, poverty, corruption, violence and natural disasters. Its president was assassinated in 2021 and has not yet replaced. Things got worse in 2024 when gangs staged an offensive that forced the resignation of the Prime Minister. The president of the Transitional Council, now running Haiti, Laurent Sancier, recently said that the United Nations that his country is at war. Now, anticipation is growing and people around the world are taking bets on who will be awarded this year's Nobel Peace Prize, one of the most prestigious awards of its kind in the world. The Nobel Peace Prize is one of 5 created by Swedish industrialist Alfred Nobel. Here's what to know ahead of this year's announcement, the secretive process and peculiar past of Nobel Peace Prize.
Amid the noise of conflict, the rush of history, and the weight of division, there is a light that refuses to fade. A light kindled not by power, but by principle. Not by force, but by faith in humanity. This is the story of a prize that does not honor the end of war, but the beginning of courage. The Nobel Peace Prize, where hope becomes history. This remarkable journey began with a single act of conscience, Alfred Nobel's will, signed on November 27, 1895 in Paris. In his final testament, he directed that the bulk of his vast fortune be used to honor those who shall have conferred the greatest benefit to humankind. Among the 5 prizes he established, one stood apart in purpose and spirit. The Nobel Peace Prize, awarded to those who have done the most or the best work for fraternity between nations, for the abolition or reduction of standing armies, and for the promotion of peace congresses. The prize is selected by the Norwegian Nobel Committee, a 5-member body appointed by the Norwegian Parliament. Since its inception in 1901, the Nobel Peace Prize has been awarded 105 times to 139 laureates, 92 individuals and 28 organizations as of 2024, recognizing exceptional efforts in peace building, human rights and disarmament. Women have received the prize 19 times, with Bertha von Suttner becoming the first female laureate in 1905 for her pioneering peace advocacy, and Malala Yousafzai, the youngest, honored in 2014 at the age of 17 for her courageous fight for girls' education under Taliban rule. The prize was awarded to Henry Dunant in 1901 for co-founding the International Committee of the Red Cross, and to Martin Luther King Jr. in 1964 for his non-violent civil rights leadership. Mother Teresa was recognized in 1979 for her humanitarian service in Kolkata, while Nelson Mandela and F.W. de Klerk
jointly received it in 1993 for ending apartheid in South Africa. In 2001, Kofi Annan and the United Nations were honored for revitalizing global diplomacy, and in 2024, the Japanese organization Nihon Hidankyo, representing atomic bomb survivors, was awarded for its powerful testimony and campaign to abolish nuclear weapons. It is not merely an award, but a moral compass, a call to courage, dialogue, and solidarity.
October 10th is observed as World Mental Health Day to encourage global mental health education, awareness and advocacy against social stigma. Despite increased awareness, many still shy away from seeking help due to fear of judgment or stigma. DD India's Preeti Kaur in the report ahead explores how mental health is integral to an individual's overall health.
Mental health is a state of mental well-being that enables people to think, feel and behave. It is an integral component of health and well-being that underpins our individual and collective abilities to make decisions, build relationships and shape the world we live in. Mental health is more than the absence of mental disorders. Mental illness, something that people have faced in some point of their lives, knowingly or unknowingly, accounts for more than 12% of global disorders. It can affect a person in countless ways. The symptoms are diverse and the experience is deeply personal. Some of the conditions include anxiety disorders, depression, bipolar disorder, post-traumatic stress disorder, schizophrenia, eating disorders, disruptive behavior and dissocial disorders, neurodevelopmental disorders. While some may experience persistent feelings of sadness or anxiety, others might struggle with mood swings, lack of focus, or even physical symptoms like fatigue or restlessness. It can affect anyone, regardless of background, age, or status. World Mental Health Day, observed every year on 10th of October, serves as a powerful reminder that there is no health without mental health. The theme this year, Mental Health in Humanitarian Emergencies, focuses on the urgent need to support the mental health and psychosocial needs of people affected by humanitarian emergencies. Crises such as natural disasters, conflicts, and public health emergencies cause emotional distress, with 1 in 5 individuals experiencing a mental health condition. However, there is hope. Staying mentally and emotionally healthy is the key to not just surviving, but thriving. The path to healing starts with a conversation. If you or someone you know is struggling, don't hesitate to talk about it. Seek support, share your feelings, and when necessary, consult a mental health professional. In a world where we take care of everything, our homes, our jobs, our bodies, it is time we care just as much for our minds as well. After all, a healthy mind is the heartbeat of a healthy life. Preeti Kaur, DD India.
Yes, no health without mental health. Still to come on this edition of DD India NewsHour. India-UK pledged to double trade by 2030 as PM Modi and PM Starmer deepen defence and economic ties. Silent Conversation exhibition showcases Idu Mishmi tribe's unique bond with tigers in Delhi. And Bihar Assembly polls first phase on November 6. Nomination filing starts October 10 for 121 seats.
Complex issues, hidden agendas, twists and turns, strategic games. We think all dots are linked. We just need to connect them. Join me every week as I connect the dots to unravel hidden designs in statecraft, mysteries, and decode issues that matter to you. Watch Connecting the Dots with me at these times on DD India.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India NewsHour. I'm Abhishek Mahajan. Some more stories. India's Defence Minister will conclude his two-day visit to Australia today. Rajnath Singh held a bilateral meeting and also co-chaired Defence Industry Roundtable with Australia's Assistant Minister of Defence, Peter Khalil. The meeting was held under the banner of the Comprehensive Strategic Partnership established in 2020, highlighting the pivotal juncture where two sides are making efforts to reposition defense relations not merely as partners but as co-creators of a secure and prosperous Indo-Pacific.
Our defense industrial partnership, based on joint research and development, innovation, co-creation and co-production, still has an untapped potential. It is in this context that I see this forum as an important instrument to make India and Australia natural allies in business and industry too. Friends, as I see it, this potential nature alliance has compelling economic reasons to be successful and mutually beneficial. Australia excels in niche technologies, quantum systems, autonomous underwater vehicles, and advanced maritime surveillance. India, on the other hand, offers vast manufacturing scale and economies, software prowess, and indigenous capabilities in sectors such as shipbuilding, missile technology, and space.
Earlier, he began the day with a visit to the HMAS Kattabul in Sydney, a key Royal Australian Navy base at Potts Point, and undertook a water tour of Fleet Base East. He was received and accompanied by Australia's Assistant Minister for Defence, Peter Khalil. He is also expected to meet members of the Indian community there. The visit comes at a historic moment when India and Australia commemorate 5 years of establishment of India-Australia Comprehensive Strategic Partnership. This also marks the first ever visit of a defence minister to Australia under this government since 2014. On Thursday, Rajnath Singh concluded day one of his Australia visit with a bilateral meeting with Foreign Minister Penny Wong in Canberra. Both the leaders reaffirmed their commitment to further strengthening the India-Australia Comprehensive Strategic Partnership and enhancing cooperation in defence, security and regional stability. Rajnath Singh underlined the growing friendship between the two countries, saying it is built on mutual trust and shared democratic principles rather than transactional interest. Wong, on her part, praised the significant contribution of the vibrant Indian diaspora to Australian society and emphasized that while the two nations are geographically distant, their perspectiveness and values remain closely aligned. India and the UK strengthened defence and trade partnerships over Keir Starmer's visit to India after assuming the charge of the top of office. On Thursday, PM Modi and PM Starmer addressed the India-UK CEO Forum in Mumbai, talking about market access, bilateral trade and economic cooperation between the two nations with a target of doubling trade by 2030 from current $56 billion. Following the meeting, CEOs from both countries praised the recently signed Comprehensive Economic and Trade Agreement and pledged to double bilateral trade by 2030. Take a listen.
It's really inspirational. I come from the Premier League, so the background of sport. We have 80 million fans here. We want to grow and build that relationship. Cricket is fantastic in this country, so the opportunities for partnership and for growth are so exciting. The focus on infrastructure, technology, the potential is endless, and I think the ambition here today was really, really powerful, and it's been a privilege to be part of it.
We see huge opportunities here in India, as well as a number of Indian engineers coming and supporting us in the UK and elsewhere in the world in the growth of our company and the work that we're doing across the world. So it's been a great opportunity actually to make good connections here.
This is a landmark agreement for us, and this opens up the market for us to be able to bring in premium quality products and actually builds the category and can actually help with hospitality, with hotels, bars, but also from an angle of encouraging and growing small businesses. So we're very excited about what this landmark deal can do for us.
The free trade agreement, the comprehensive economic and trade agreement that you've signed, which was a major breakthrough after years of hard work, liberates those of us who already have an interest in each other's economies to go much further and much faster, and I think brings in, and I think you see that from the size of the UK delegation, and the reception that you've given us here in Mumbai gives us the opportunity to take what are really strong foundations and to grow that, I'll say, at an exponential rate. India is globalizing very quickly. Supply chains in the world are shifting very quickly, and there's a tremendous role for India to play in the globalization of manufacturing and service supply chains.
India has always been a special place for us. We have our largest workforce outside of the UK, based here in India. We were early investors in Bharti and Tech Mahindra because we've been very much drawn to the worldwide innovation and digital talent and service talent that has been here for many years. The free trade agreement between UK and India is a fantastic opportunity for two great countries to collaborate for growth. It's an opportunity for predictable pro-investment and pro-innovation opportunities for both of us.
There is no other private company in the world with nuclear skills that we have. So SMRs and AMRs, we are now world leader already. We actually took that technology so we can bring it here again in partnership. We want to grow our supply chain here for aerospace and power systems at least 20-fold in the next 10-20 years.
In a decisive counter-insurgency operation, conducted a search operation in Manipur's Kakching district and recovered some arms and ammunition. Acting on specific intelligence regarding the presence of insurgents and a suspected hideout containing warlike stores, the operation was launched at Thambal Chengya areas of mountainous Kakching district with precision and coordination. Among the items recovered and seized are one AK-47 G3 rifle, a hand grenade and 60 live rounds. The operation marks a substantial step in curbing the movement and activities of insurgent groups in the region and highlights the effectiveness of coordinated security efforts in safeguarding public safety. Bihar Assembly elections will be held in two phases, with the first phase on November 6th. Voting for 121 seats will cover in first phase. The Gazette notification for the phase is issued on Friday and his nomination papers can be filed from October 10 to 17 except on holidays. Scrutiny of nominations is scheduled for October 18 and the last date for withdrawal of candidates is October 20th. Now, married women across India and around the world are observing Karwa Chauth today, a festival that celebrates love, devotion and the sacred bond of marriage. What was once a traditional North Indian ritual has today become a global celebration of faith, togetherness and cultural pride. Here's a report.
As the moonlight grazes the sky tonight, countless women will look up to the sky with prayers and gratitude in their hearts. Karwa Chauth, one of India's most cherished festivals, is marked by a day-long fast observed by married women for the well-being and longevity of their husbands. Rooted in centuries-old customs, the festival's essence lies in love and sacrifice. Over time, it has evolved with many men now joining their spouses with the fast, symbolizing equality and companionship in modern relationships. On Karwa Chauth, markets shimmer with color and celebration. From intricate henna designs to vibrant bangles and sparkling accessories, women indulge in the joy of preparation. Shopping for new attire, jewelry, and gifts adds to the festive spirit, turning every corner into a scene of tradition and excitement. The fragrance of henna fills the air, symbolizing love, prosperity, and the anticipation of a night that celebrates devotion and togetherness. Beyond India, Karwa Chauth has transcended borders. Indian communities celebrate the festival with zeal, keeping alive the spirit of tradition with distant lands. It has become a symbol of cultural continuity and emotional connection for the global Indian diaspora. As the moon rises and the fast concludes, the ritual embodies more than devotion. It reflects faith, patience, and the timeless bonds that unite families across continents. From ancient tales to modern times, Karwa Chauth continues to bridge generations and geographies, proving that cultural heritage, when celebrated with heart, knows no boundaries. Kriti Vadhera's report for DD India.
And the Idu Mishmi tribe of Dibang Valley in Arunachal Pradesh, the northeastern part of India, believe that tigers are their elder brothers. At a tribal art exhibition named Silent Conversation, From Margins to the Centre in Delhi, was inaugurated by former President of India, Ramnath Kovind. He took a tour of the exhibition and interacted with the artists, some of whom live around various tiger reserves of India. All right, still to come on this edition of DD India News Hour. Asian markets limp into weekend as AI bubble fears grow. And India's captain Shubman Gill opts to bat against West Indies in the second test in Delhi. India remembers R.K. Narayan on his 119th birth anniversary, creator of beloved Malgudi Days, an iconic character Swami.
Geopolitics and trade deals. Economic challenges amid development. Hard work and the path to prosperity. It's the economy always. Between walkers, money is what money does and says. Supply creates its own demand. Between the bulls pulls and bears tears. When supply chains globalization and India rises to the podium. We'll get you centered with the economic brief at 8 p.m. every Thursday on DD India.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Abhishek Mahajan. Business updates now. Asian equities staggered into the weekend on Friday following a mixed week that saw a Middle East ceasefire and huge new AI investments play off against the US shutdown and concerns about a tech bubble. While some markets hit record highs along with gold and Bitcoin, talk is growing that valuations among some companies may have run too high, sparking talk of a pullback. That in turn has seen investors flood into the tech sector, sending stock prices rocketing, with US chip leader Nvidia topping a $4 trillion market capitalization. However, there are rumblings that the rally could run out of steam, causing jitters on trading floors. All three main indexes on Wall Street ended in the red, and Asia largely followed suit. Sports updates now. We'll start with cricket. India's captain Shubman Gill won the toss and opted to bat against West Indies in the second test in Delhi on Friday. India fielded unchanged side after the innings victory in the opening test. The tourists have made two changes, with wicketkeeper batsman Devin Imlach and pace bowler Anderson Phillip came in for Brandon King and Johan Lane. The West Indies, led by Roston Chase, look for resurrection as they face a second successive test whitewash after losing 3-0 to Australia at home recently. All right, DD India's Narayan Singh is covering this test match and he's joining us live from Delhi. Narayan, steady start by India and good toss to win on Delhi's wicket.
Well, definitely, Abhishek, as you mentioned about the toss, first time Shubman Gill winning toss as a test captain for India. So he will try to start that thing on a positive note. Already India in the front foot after winning the first match with a huge margin in the Ahmedabad. And definitely they will try to seal the series by winning this test match too, because if we take a look at the level of the competition, there is a big gulf if we talk about the quality of the cricket, class of the cricket between the two teams. And definitely we are hoping that India will also grab those crucial World Test Championship points by winning this test match, because if you take a look yesterday in the press conference also, Shubman Gill clearly mentioned that right now they are trying to groom a team for the future, and that's why they are trying to just pick the players from the pool of 17, 18 players, and they are giving chance to the players whom the team believe, and especially the Sai Sudarshan. If you take a look, his past record in the test match was not up to the mark, but he said that the team management has believed in the capability of the Sai Sudarshan and also Nitish Kumar Reddy. If we take a look in the last match, he did not get too much chance with the ball and bat too. So they are trying to make a team which can go for the long run, and same as in the ODI format too. But here, definitely India, the way they started here, definitely they will try to put a big score on the board, because if you take a look, the last match just wrapped up within the 2.5 days. Here they will look to take a stretch this match. West Indies too, if we take a look, West Indies, there is a lack of intensity in their game, and they will try to just reassemble themselves and reboot themselves, because we know that West Indies is a team which has a legacy. The way they dominated in the late 70s and 18, nobody has dominated in such a manner. But right now we can say that such form of the West Indies team, especially in the Test cricket, it's not good for the cricket. It's not good for the Test cricket. It's not good for the Caribbean cricket, because yesterday when the Roston Chase was asked question regarding the performance of the West Indies team, definitely he said that it's a matter of concern. He just talked with the greats of the game, especially the West Indian great like Viv Richards. They said that keep a belief within yourself and you play according to the condition. Definitely that will help this West Indies team. Hoping we are definitely that today the West Indies team will pose some resistance against the Indian team, so that the intensity of the Test match remains. We can say that the legacy that they have, they will try to just resemble themselves and take that thing in a proper manner here at the Firoz Shah Kotla.
Absolutely, Narayan, everyone wants to see a good and competitive Test match. Thank you for the time being, Narayan, but yes, we'll keep taking updates from you. Badminton now. India's Dhruv Kapila and Tanisha Crasto march into the quarterfinals of the Arctic Open Badminton Tournament after a come-from-behind win in Finland. The Indian mixed doubles pair rallied to win the match 23-25, 21-14, 21-17 against Ukrainian duo Oleksiy Titov and Yevgenia Kantremera in Vantaa City. After losing an evenly contested opening game, the Indian duo bounced back to clinch the second and third game. In women's singles, Anmol Kharab also fought back from a game down to beat Chinese Taipei's Su Wenqi 18-21, 21-18, 21-17 and reached the quarterfinals. Tennis now. Fourth seed Novak Djokovic looked far from his best but dispatched Belgium's Zizou Bergs 6-3, 7-5 to set up a Shanghai Masters semi-final clash against surprise package Valentin Vachereau. Djokovic was made to work hard than the scoreline suggests by his Belgian opponent, who actually registered more winners than the four-time champion but was undone by unforced errors. Djokovic eventually sealed victory, advancing to face Vachereau in what promises to be an intriguing semi-final clash. The 38-year-old Serbian is getting closer to a fifth title in Chinese financial hub despite struggling physically throughout the week. Meanwhile, world number 204 Vachereau pulled off a huge upset, stunning 10-seed Holger Rune 2-6, 7-6, 6-4 to become the second lowest ranked player ever to reach an ATP Masters semi-final. The qualifier's remarkable run will see him crack the top 100 next week after spending half of last year sidelined with injury. And October 10 marks the 119th birth anniversary of celebrated Indian author R.K. Narayan. The television adaptation of his work, Malgudi Days, became a household name in India, particularly because of the little boy Swami.
October 10 marks the birth anniversary of R.K. Narayan. Rasipuram Krishnaswamy Iyer Narayanaswamy, commonly known as R.K. Narayan, was one of the greatest writers of English literature. This Indian writer was globally known for his fictional writings. Born in 1906 in a family of Tamil Brahmins, R.K. Narayan was the second eldest son in a family of 8 children. His rich tapestry of fictional, non-fictional and mythological works resonates with readers around the globe. He started teaching in a school but soon decided to quit his job to pursue a full-time career in writing. Throughout his lifetime, Narayan authored 34 novels, beginning with Swami and Friends, a captivating tale that follows the adventures of a group of schoolchildren. His narratives are set in a fictional village of Malgudi in South India. a vibrant backdrop that later inspired the beloved television series Malgudi Days, which aired on DD National. This show became a cherished favorite, resonating with audiences and leaving a lasting impression that many still recall fondly today. He was also nominated as a member of the Rajya Sabha, the upper house of Indian Parliament, in 1980 for his extraordinary contributions to literature. His legendary writing career came to an end with his final book, Grandmother's Tale, in 1992. R.K. Narayan masterfully captured the contradictions and ironies of Indian rural and urban life in his works, vividly illustrating the tensions between modern urbanity and age-old traditions. His unwavering dedication to writing defined his life, and he continued to craft his narratives with remarkable skill and insight until his final days. R.K. Narayan's legacy in Indian English literature is immensely impactful, shaping the trajectory of Indian writing in English and inspiring countless generations of authors. Bureau Report, DD India.
Well, that's all we have in this edition of DD India News Hour, but do let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. For those on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India and across the world on DD India mobile app. The app is available on both Android and iOS platforms. Scan the QR code on the screen to download now. And we'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Abhishek Mahajan. From all of us here in Delhi, thanks for watching DD India News Hour.